Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
How you doing?
I'm fine. I'm a little bit tired. How are you?
I'm doing pretty great, honestly.
That's cool.
Yeah, and then I have my friend here, the person who's the programmer.
Hello. I
Okay.
also make video games. I'm not too good at
Oh,
programming.
well, welcome to hell. My name's Josh, by the way, like my real name.
I'm George.
Yeah, I'm Gage.
Okay.
So we have like about 10 questions prepared.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and so the first one was, have you seen speedruns of your games before?
Yeah. Yeah, I have. There was this really small Discord where I was not active enough, where like a bunch of people were speedrunning the game. And yeah, it's crazy. Like the first speedrun or like the first even like playthrough I saw of the game was like faster than anything I could ever do. Like instantly, people playing it were so much better than me. That was cool.
And specifically with Handulum, like
Hmm.
what was your experience with that?
It's yeah, it's like it's the most popular thing I ever did. So like there's there's speedruns. There's like people asking me questions about it, like a lot. Like compared to my other stuff, like 80% of the messages I get like from people who play my games are about Pendulum. And I think my most favorite thing I ever saw about that game was like a video filmed on a smartphone, like in a classroom, like in a way where they were like trying to avoid the teacher seeing it, and they were like playing it in like computer class or something. That was great. I was like, it reminded me of what like we did in school. That was cool.
Yeah, I see it every so often, people playing it.
Yeah, it's cool. Like I get like, oh, you were the guy who made Handulum from like some people. It's cool.
I was gonna ask, although this may be out of order, what would you consider to be your best game? Would it be Handulum or something else? I know I personally really liked Grass Your Eye. I thought it was a nice
Hmm.
bit of character to have the how they like commit seppuku if they don't cut the grass.
Yeah, that was super fun to make. A favorite thing, I don't know. I really like everything else, which like has some weird bugs that keeps people from playing it, but I think it's like the most like thematically coherent game, or even like game with a theme at all that I made, where there's like two different endings and like the story and the gameplay like actually tie together and stuff. I've been wanting to do that for a long time, and with that game, I finally did it. So right now, that's my favorite one, I think.
Uh,
All right, cool, awesome. And so I'm gonna ask you this question: like 6 months ago, how low did you think like people like how fast do you think people could have beaten Handulum?
I didn't consider it from that perspective at all. Like the I didn't consider it from a speedrunning perspective. I was not thinking about time. I was thinking about like more average user stuff, like about flow, right? Like how do I make a game that like progresses really well? Like that was kind of the goal of that whole thing. Um, how fast? I know from like previous games I made that there are people out there who can like destroy all my times. So I was prepared for speedrunners to like walk all over me.
Okay, yeah. And then after seeing like some speedruns from like me or someone else, how low do you think it can go now?
How low? I don't know. What's the current world record is like a minute, right?
No, the current world record, which I set like a month ago, is 1 minute 39 seconds point nine.
I don't know. Like there's limits to how fast it can be, right? Like I honestly don't know. This is not something I think about too much, to be honest.
Okay.
Which is not like meant to like disrespect speedrunners. I think it's just fascinating how like different approaches to games can be, and like my approach to games, I think, and the speedrunner's approach to a game are like very opposed.
and
So it's hard for me to think about stuff in like that perspective.
well, you were talking about your way of going about playing and developing games. And I'm just kind of wondering. So you mentioned flow, and I have a lot of
Hmm.
opinions on this. So yeah. So would you say that you're kind of do you apply more formal or well-known game design theory in your games, or do you just have your own design philosophy, or what? Because it might take a lot of
um,
explaining to explain why I'm asking this, but
that's fine. You can do it in the video. You can do like a record scratch.
okay, Gage here. So this is the first interview I've done in a while, and I haven't done many interviews overall. I don't even fully remember why I asked this question, but it's likely the result of two things: personal obsession with the topic I'm asking about, and not knowing about the interviewee. What I knew about Stuffed Wombat at this point in time was that he made simplistic and mechanically unique video games and thought a lot about aspects of game design like flow. What I did not know was that he had in fact done multiple essays and talks about his personal game design philosophy, thus rendering this entire line of discussion more or less redundant and showing that I had no clue what I was doing. So, hence the record scratch, and hence all of this.
Um, but I, I don't know. I think like how I approach my games depends very much on what I'm interested at the moment, what I'm interested in at the moment. Like when I made, like I think Handulum is a good example, okay? Because when we're talking about Handulum, we're actually talking about Handulum Plus, which is the sequel to the first game. Because I made the first game after I discovered that I could like code the Handulum mechanic, and that first version of the game had 9 levels. And for me, that was perfect and it was complete because those 9 levels covered everything about the basics of the movement of the system that I made, which was all that I was interested in at the time. Like, here's a system. What is the smallest steps I can break this down into? So I made those 9 levels. And I was perfectly happy. And then someone contacted me to be like, "Hey, we're gonna pay you if you add stuff to it." And then the focus was not, um, okay, how do I break this down into even more basic step? It was the opposite, like the focus. And then what started to interest me once I took that opportunity was, how do I take this very basic mechanic and how do I stretch it as far as I can while still being able to add new stuff every level or like to change one thing every level. So it's like these very specific little things that like it's definitely influenced by like the design philosophy. Like some of my games are trying to be like to follow the Kito Shinketsu method. And then once I did that like a bunch of times, I kind of like know how it works and then I can start to play around with it. Then I like add it to my toolbox, right? So I play around with the stuff, like try to get something done as quickly as possible, and then I get bored by it. And then I move on to the next like theory or something that interests me. So it's very inconsistent, I think, what how I approach making games.
Okay, so Handulum Plus, you never really wanted to make that. Someone like commissioned you to.
Yeah, yeah. Like I was I made like the 9 levels, which are basically also the first 9 levels of Pendulum Plus. I made those, and for me, it was done. And then Alex from Cool Math Games emailed me and was like, "Hey, we like this. Um, we're gonna like want to license a bigger game." And then he basically gave me a bunch of prompts of like, "Hey, wouldn't it be cool if you do this and this and this and this?" And yeah, like the Play Plus mode also was his idea
I didn't know Cool
to be like, "Hey,
Minds did that. I knew they took Pico 8 games.
yeah, no, they like a bunch of friends of mine have licensed stuff to them. Like they are behind the scenes, they're pretty active and they're amazing to work with. Like I don't know, like extremely professional and super friendly and just nice people. It's really cool.
Do you ever feel like the kind of disproportionate? I don't know how to say this. I don't know if acclaim would be the word, but the
Hmm.
larger audience of Handulum. Do would you say that that's kind of been a problem for you, or that you feel like the other games are underappreciated in relation to it, or
No, no, no. I'm like, if I don't know, thinking like that, like takes a lot of energy to be like, oh, what am I most known for? What is like defining me as a person? Like which game is like the most successful? I used to do that a lot and like think a lot about like, oh, which of my like much worse with Twitter, like which of my tweets is good, like is this doing great? Oh, like can we get this many likes and stuff, like obsessing over this. And it just ate up a lot of my energy, and then I tried to like move away from that. So I don't think about that a lot. So right, like I don't know, like maybe a year ago. No, oh yeah, no bullshit. At the beginning of this year, like almost a year ago, I was when Handulum released, when the Handulum Plus released, and people like responded super positively to it. Like you can kind of see very quickly if a game's gonna be like well received or not. And I felt kind of like it was cheap, you know, because it was like I was commissioned to do it, and like it didn't come like entirely from within me, so it was tarnished and not like in line with my artist spirit or whatever. Um, yeah, I kind of felt that, but yeah, and like the first half of that year, I worked on those faults, and now I don't mind.
Okay, and on Twitter a couple months ago, or maybe even just a couple weeks ago, you made a tweet about like you explained very basically like what the physics of Handulum was. I was wondering if you could like elaborate on anything like that.
um, is really quite simple. Like it's all based on Box 2D, like a built-in physics engine of Construct 2, which I'm using. Um, they have this function that's called joint, right? So you can link two physics objects together, and I guess it's like designed to like make ragdolls or stuff like that.
Or like skeletal animations.
Yeah, yeah. Um, Skeletal animations, I don't know. That's too complex for me. Like I think they added it to Construct to make stuff like those motorcycle games where you could like balance and have to get over a mountain or something like that. So there's this one joint function which is just called rotational joint, which means the 2 points are fixed together and one of them is like solid and the other like can swing around it like a pendulum. And so I had that, and that didn't feel good because real world physics suck. So after some tweaking and like testing stuff, basically it works in a way that um, you have a ball and you can pull a string to the ball, and when the string is there, like gravity gets stronger and the ball is heavier, and that's all just like trial and error, right? Like I would try to like okay, when the string is there, the ball is lighter. Let's see how that feels, and it would feel like shit. So I would put it back again. But it really is basic. It's like it's in the tweet when the rope is there, the ball is heavier. When you let go of the rope, the ball gets a little upward push to like fight real world physics. And make like yeah, sorry.
Sorry, I'm actually like I'm on that tweet right now, and it just says
Yeah,
when the rope is there, gravity is strong. When the rope is not there, gravity is low. And when the rope disappears, the ball gets a tiny upwards push.
yeah, that's it. Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. Would do you think there's any like other like important components of it, or do you think that's like basically it?
That's all mechanically, right? Like visually, there's a tiny zoom in when the string is there. It's really small, but I think it like adds a lot. Like the camera zooms in a little bit, which then like makes the feeling of like releasing the ball stronger, well, because it zooms out again.
It also clearly zooms in a lot when the ball hits a wall.
Yeah. It's like again like okay, here's the focus. Let's put the focus on the ball, and then when you hit the goal, it zooms out and shows the whole level, which is kind of like a interesting like opposite relationship. But mechanically, I don't know. Like that's literally the code, right? Like it's like 6 lines or something. There's really not much behind it. It's just a lot of tweaked values for like the upwards push and the gravity settings and stuff.
Uh, I have a question. This isn't a very important question, but is there a particular reason why you're called Stuffed Wombat, or
name is there's no intention behind it. I just took that name over from my League of Legends account when I made my Newgrounds page. And I used the name Stuffed Wombat on League of Legends because when I signed up for League of Legends, I had a stuffed wombat on my desk, like a stuffed animal.
Huh.
That's it. There's nothing behind it
Okay.
except that short story.
Gage, do you want to ask about Construct?
Yeah, what led you to use Construct, and what would you say maybe the advantages of Construct are, if any?
Yeah, yeah. Construct's great. Like, it was really cool. I was using Stencil. I think it was like 2 or 3 years ago by now. I was using Stencil to make my games, and I showed them at an exhibition. And I met a guy there that I played his games on Newgrounds, and he played my games on Newgrounds, and we like connected and talked and stuff. And he basically got me a job to work for a publisher, and they wanted me to use Construct, so I had to learn it.
So, is that your job now, or is that something you do on the side every now and then?
No, like I did that for a year, and then like 1 month before the publisher should have published my game, they disappeared, right? Like they just like broke the contract and are currently hiding in Peru. That's the last thing I heard.
Really?
Wait,
They,
what?
they didn't go under. They
Yeah,
sued
yeah.
you.
Oh no, they paid me. They
Okay.
paid me, but they didn't publish my game, right? So I'm sitting on this unpublished game 1 year ago. Yeah. So then, oh, that like is really shit. Like I'm working on pitching the same game to different publishers now, and like trying to figure out the legal situation and everything. So really fucked. But no, it's not my job. Like I then like the first half of this year, I like tried to like do consulting or like sell games to websites and stuff, and all of that just stressed me a lot. So now I'm working part-time in a hostel as a receptionist.
A hospital?
A hostel, like a shitty hotel.
Oh, okay.
Wait, sorry, the question was about construct in the beginning. Sorry, I got off topic.
Well, it
So
sorry. It sounds like you didn't like particularly want to learn it. It just someone like told you to.
no, no, yeah, no, I'm super lazy. Like once I like reach a certain level of proficiency, I'm just way too happy to explore that level forever, right? To like go super into detail and like never move out of that like cozy space, which is super bad. So yeah, no, they basically forced me to learn construct and was like a high pressure situation because I had to get a demo ready to show at festivals and stuff. So I learned super quickly, and I also had help from like programmers from the teams. But then this summer I tried to learn Unity. Like I spent like I think a week like trying to get into it, and I just couldn't because there was no outside like force pushing me to do it. But okay, Construct is great because it has a lot of the like core behaviors that you need to like download from the asset store or like hard code in Unity. It just has that, right? Like if I want to make like a top-down Zelda thing, like the movement is just like I click two buttons and the character moves that way. And it has an insanely fast workflow for prototyping because you literally just like drag a PNG file from your desktop and drop it in the engine and it becomes a object in the game. And that's just super cool for like the stuff I like to do, which is like quick little things and like playing around with GIFs and stuff. So I'm really happy with the engine.
All right, sounds cool. And then this one's like specifically for me, and
Mhm.
I told you about it in the DMs. Like, what exactly causes me to be able to clip through the finish line on some levels?
It's because you're going too fast. You've gotten too good at the game, right? Like in that level, especially, you have like a huge drop where you can build momentum, and the game is simply not ready to calculate all the movements, right? Like every time your computer updates the picture, the ball moves a little bit, and when you're really fast, it moves more and more and more and more.
Yeah.
So it just like skips the line if you're fast enough.
Yeah, it moves past it. It's already on the other
Yeah,
side by the time that you hit it.
yeah. Like you can imagine the movement like many tiny dots, and the dots get further apart the faster the ball goes, and only where there is a dot, like collision registers. So if you're fast enough.
I feel kind of stupid that this didn't occur to me before because I did a game where the whole basis was basically that, where you kept picking up these oranges and you would move faster and faster until you were skipping across the entire screen each time. And then I've also had to deal with frame skipping issues and some of the newer stuff I've done because I work in Java, which is
Okay.
really, really unwieldy.
Wait, does that mean that you use libgdx?
No, I just use I use Eclipse and I just code it
Okay.
directly.
Okay, so
Oh.
I think I think that's gonna have to be the end of the interview. My last
Mhm.
question would be like, when's Handulum 2 coming out? But it's just
I don't know. Like Alex recently asked me, like, "Hey, do you want to make a second one?" Um, I don't know. Um, I I don't know. We'll have to see. Like, I'm making a small game about a poem right now, and like Christmas coming up, and I'm not really in the mood to get down. But maybe in the new year, I don't know. Like, I definitely want to make a sequel at some point, and I have started them, and I have prototype mechanics and stuff. Like, there's a lot of levels and stuff for a sequel on my computer, but I don't know. Yeah, there's some stuff I have to decide. Like if I want to do an art upgrade and like get actual art in, if I want to put a story in, all that like that just takes time to work out, and I'm not taking that time right now.
I also have a few final questions. Though this is a very inopportune time. There's a bunch of stuff
Mhm.
happening here, but one, are there any games that inspired you philosophy wise, just in terms of your approach to making
Mhm.
games and stuff? And then two, do you have any long term aspirations with your games or just in general?
Yeah. um, inspiration wise, Daniel Linson, Managor. I don't know if you know him. He's amazing. Like, um, I played his games like when I started to make games myself, or like when I got more serious about it, and it's beautiful. They're so small and so perfect, and I love them. And then there's Downwell, of course, which I've played way too much over the years. But I think the like yeah, if you're making games like alone in your basement, check out Managor or Daniel Linson. It's great, great, great stuff.
Yeah.
And in terms of aspirations, that's tough because like for the last years, I spent a lot of time like thinking I was gonna be like indie and I was gonna be like successful doing that. And every time I got like close or like I don't know, I keep like self-sabotaging. So like I get a job offer and I'm like I can't take it, so I don't take it. And like it would be good, but I don't do it because I think I'm not like I don't know. There's some stuff about myself I still have to figure out, and until I have that figured out, I'm not really able to make long-term plans, I think. But this, like, I just sent out, like, this is like talking about like decades stuff for like, do I want to make games forever? Um, but like, I definitely want to finish, like, or release the project that I made for that first publisher. So I sent out a bunch of pitches and like demos a couple of days ago, and I hope that I'll get to finish and release that in 2020. That's like the one concrete thing I want to do.
okay. Well, that sounds cool, and I hope you're successful in those endeavors.
Yeah,
I wish you well too.
well, let's see. Thank you very much for hoping that.